Hello everyone, welcome back to Spooky Easy. My name is Jessie, your spooky storyteller extraordinaire, back at it again to talk about more spooky stuff. It really feels like we've been at home now for about a million years. We have this stay-at-home order, unfortunately, here in Toronto, in Ontario, I should say, simply because the numbers for this coronavirus was going up so high that they basically said you have to stay at home. Honestly, I am for it. Honestly, I completely understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, I'm starting to feel a little bit stir crazy. I'm sure there's a lot of people at home that are also feeling a bit stir crazy. Definitely, there's not a lot to do, so people are looking to do things like take up arts and crafts, do videos and things like that, play video games, even board games, especially because we are staying at home more now than ever. The temptation is definitely there to try something that's a little bit risky. Yes, my friends, I'm talking about the Ouija board, the biggest mistake that anyone could ever do in order to get some entertainment value out of it. I've talked about Ouija boards before, not really in length. It was kind of more in passing. A lot of people, especially those that are interested in the paranormal, know all about Ouija boards. They are so popular to play with, and that's the thing. It is a game, but it really isn't a game. But actually it is a game because it was actually created by Hasbro Gaming back in 1890, I believe it was. And basically it was literally meant for kids and even adults and things like that to play with, to communicate with spirits. In case you don't know what a Ouija board is, I'll insert a picture for that one person in the world that hasn't heard of it before. It's literally just a board game where you have this board game that has all the letters of the alphabet and some numbers. The answer is yes and no, and literally it's kind of like a keyboard for ghosts to communicate with you. There's also the legendary planchette that you put in the middle of the board to start off with. You and your friends, or you by yourself if you're brave enough, all you need to do is put your fingers on it very lightly, barely touching it. Ask the spirit in question or whatever you're trying to communicate some questions and basically see where it goes. The reason why I think this is so dangerous is because you're opening up a portal, and even if it's just a game, it's like a portal into your home for all kinds of different things to enter and to make your life a living hell. You never know what you can make contact with, and that's the whole problem, is that you may think that you're speaking to your grandma Dorothy, whatever, when in reality, you may be talking to something darker. So yes, while Hasbro Games did create this game, this board game, it's nothing to really sniff at or to be skeptical of. I mean, even if you are a skeptic, why take that chance? This is my whole thing, is that even if you are a skeptic, it's kind of like, you know, you're trying to invite something into your life that's something that you don't have a lot of knowledge with to get rid of again. Actually, it's not really something that you want to mess around with, especially because just because it looks like a game, it's all entertaining, very fun, all that good stuff, it doesn't mean that you want to, you know, make yourself available to whatever you might be bringing forth into your reality. I mean, there's even stories going way back before Hasbro Gaming created this Ouija board officially in 1890. No, it actually goes back way further than that. People would literally create ways to be able to try to communicate using letters and things like that, to be able to communicate with ghosts. I believe even, according to Wikipedia anyway, even way back to ancient times in China. This whole idea of it just being a game is really just kind of a way to make light of something very serious, because there are things that you can attract into your life that can make it for the worse. Not all experiences are bad. There are some situations where people are able to talk possibly to their loved ones or to somebody that they knew back before and it's very interesting, or maybe a historical figure. There are some instances where that has happened, or people claim have happened to them. The reason why I bring this up is because I started to look into stories of people and their bad experiences with Ouija boards. I actually handed this little project off to my husband, who picked out 3 stories for me to read out to you. I'm really excited about that. Literally no idea what he picked out for me, so it'll be interesting for sure. I hope that it's nothing too intense anyway. So before I get started into reading those stories for you, I just wanted to let you know what I'll be drinking tonight, and It's a rum and coke. Yes, I do have some leftover rum from my liquor cabinet wet bar thing. I'm just not much of a rum drinker, but I do enjoy it once in a while, and since I don't have any wine available at this time, I thought, let's crack into the Kraken. And yeah, it's just regular coke. I'm supposed to be on a diet, but it's the weekend, and why not? So with all that being said, let's get into some stories from Reddit. Please drink responsibly as always, and cheers to you. So our first story is from Reddit from a user called Excrement Cranium, very classy, and it goes a little something like this. In high school, my friends and I were messing around with a Ouija board one night. We had done it before and nothing remarkable had ever happened. We usually did it to try to scare each other or our girlfriends. We all thought it was a joke. That night there was no one else home except the 7 of us, and we were all together around the board. One of the girls there wanted to try it. She had never done it before. This time was different. The board misspelled some of the words the same way every time. It gave answers that seemed really historically accurate of our town, things we never knew or cared about. Long story short, the spirit claimed it was a 10-year-old boy who had died on the property in the 1800s and was buried there too in an unmarked grave. My friend's house was on a farm in the edge of town. We were all a little freaked out because the board had never been so detailed and consistent. However, we were still skeptical, and we were all assuming one of us was trying to scare the rest. Finally, my friend asked if the spirit could do something to prove he was there with us. It went to yes, and then spelled out Knock. Then the planchette stopped moving. We just all stared at it silently. And then there was a rap, rap, rap on the window right next to us. The lights were on outside and there was absolutely no one there. We never touched that effing board again. That is very chilling, I gotta say, because especially when, again, the whole object of the game is to play with it and to have fun with it. And yeah, sometimes it will spell out nonsensical words and things like that, especially with if you're playing with a lot of friends that are all touching the planchette. Literally, you're just kind of like moving it around. You don't know who's doing it. There's always one person in the group that's trying to freak you out, or it's even subconscious. You don't realize that you're the one doing it. But in this case, it looks like everyone was genuinely kind of like surprised that something was trying to reach out to them. I genuinely think that if this 10-year-old boy was actually real, they just wanted to maybe join in on the fun with this party and just wanted to kind of hang out with them, explain a little bit who they were. But, you know, rapping on the door, I hope they said goodbye. That's the whole thing as well, is that once you make touch with something, if you're finished with the session, you have to go to goodbye. Otherwise, that little ghostly friend is going to stick around. This next story is from somebody called Rooster Colhane on Reddit, and it goes something like this. In high school, a couple of friends, my friend's mom and myself, were talking about a local building being haunted. Soil conditioners that sells dirt, sparks, and other landscaping goods, rumored to be the location of a murder years before. The mom worked there, so we decided to break out the board and give it a shot. I had never used one before, so I was skeptical from the jump. The place is essentially a large warehouse with tall metal racks, think Costco or Home Depot, stacked with bags of dirt, manure, bark, and other things like large ceramic flower pots. The board was glow in the dark, so we kept all the lights off. Once we got going, it started moving around and I was freaking out already. We asked if something was there to let us know, and there was a loud bang that seemed to come from the rafters on the other side of the warehouse. Every question that followed was met with a similar bang from a various location in the warehouse, sometimes close and sometimes far. The last question asked was if it meant us harm, and the thingy already on the no answer did not move. The question was repeated and immediately followed by the closest noise yet. Seemed right on top of us. So we decided to ski effing daddle. I would too. As we were rushing out, we flipped on our flashlights and saw 1 or 2 large pots fall from the racks and heard what we would later find to be a 40-pound bags of bark dropping to the ground. There was also a slow, low grinding noise that when my friends returned the next day was a sledgehammer that had been dragged through the dirt-covered cement floor, standing straight up in the air with drag marks, but no footprints near. I pretty much believe in ghosts now and slept with the lights on for a week. Only a week? That's definitely poltergeist activity, something really trying to get your attention, to let itself be known that it is not meant to be trifled with. My question to this person would be, did the activity continue? Did it get worse? Did it get better? And most importantly, did they say goodbye? As I previously mentioned, you must always say goodbye. Otherwise, that thing is there to stick around. So for our last story, it's from somebody on Reddit called no_springs. I was about 12 or 13 spending the night at a friend's house goofing around with a Ouija board with him and his sister. We were getting all sorts of gibberish plus words spelled out, just kind of scaring ourselves for fun, not taking it very seriously. Then we got the message, "I can see you through the window," and then "I can see you through his eyes," or something like that. It was just a small window in the basement room where we were, and just the backyard and woods past the driveway visible through that window. We asked it more questions and it said, "I'm under the car." So we somehow got up the nerve to go out with a flashlight and peer under the car, where we saw a huge black stray cat missing. We ran inside freaking out, and at that exact moment, the power failed and all the lights in the house went out. We just about actually ished ourselves. A few minutes later, the power came back and we sat up until dawn that night, scared, and never played with the board again. I really think that might have been a demonic entity. Demonic entities have a tendency to present themselves as some kind of animal. Sometimes it can be a black dog, sometimes it can be a cat. All the same, they have enough power to take out all the lights, especially if they're trying to communicate with you. And that's exactly the problem with Ouija boards, is that, again, you may be trying to communicate with somebody that's, you know, your family member, or you might get in touch with like that little boy, for example, in the first story, but actually the potential of reaching something darker is so risky. In my opinion, those stories were pretty scary, but I've heard of worse. Maybe in one of my next reaction videos, I'll get my husband to get some bad, Ouija board experiences. I know there's a lot of them out there. You never know what experiences people go through, and it sounds like there's a lot of them. In any case, let me know what you think. What are your thoughts about Ouija boards? What are your bad experiences? I want to hear all about them. So feel free to comment below. Please like, share, subscribe. Click the notification bell, do all that good stuff, because definitely I just want to create all the fun things for you, a lot of spooky things. If you have any suggestions at all, any comments, any of your own stories, please feel free to email me. Definitely, I want to hear all about that. Thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate it. Please stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, do all that good stuff to bring the numbers down all over the world, not just here in Toronto, but everywhere. We want to work together to bring down these terrible numbers for this virus that's going around. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and ciao for now. So our first story is from somebody called excrement cranium. In high school, my Ouija